All right, it's been just a minute, exactly the amount of time it took me to make a cup of tea, and my gluten has relaxed nicely, so it's ready to build a little more strength. So I'm gonna mix it a little more. Yeah, it feels nice and strong, it's feeling good. I'm gonna go ahead and add my salt in here. I'm gonna pop that 20 grams of salt right on top, and I'm gonna splash a little bit more water in there. My dough doesn't feel nearly too wet yet, so I'm not worried about hydration. I'm gonna add a little water just to dissolve that salt. You can add water or not. If your dough's at 75 and you want to keep it at 75, you don't have to add water in this stage. I just kind of like to dissolve the salt a little bit as I'm mixing it in. And I like to kind of use this squeezing motion to get that salt in. It really helps. I use fancy salt in this. The idea is kind of that if you're only making something with a few ingredients, like flour, water, and salt, you want to use good ones because you're really going to be able to taste them. So I put some fancy salt in here. I like Jacobson salt from Oregon. Any salt will do though. You don't have to put anything fancy in. Kosher salt works, sea salt works, really whatever you have in the pantry is totally fine. So I'm just mixing the salt in here. The dough is starting to feel nice and marshmallowy. That's a really good sign. It feels kind of silky. Strong. So get all that salt and water in. You see it's all kind of come apart as I've been squeezing it. That's okay. The magical thing about gluten is that it will just form right back together while I stretch it. So just giving it a couple turns here. Getting all that salt and water incorporated. And once I get all this together, I'm going to cover it up and let it relax again for another 5 minutes or so. And then I'll come back and do one more final kind of mixing fold to see if there's any more water I want to add to get it to the sort of extensibility and texture that I'm looking for. All right, so now that's all back together like that. And you can see I'm starting to get a little tearing there. That's a good point at which to stop and let the gluten relax before you do any more mixing. So I'll leave that for a few minutes and then we'll come back and do our final mixing step.